What's good, everybody, and welcome back to yet another edition of Unfocused. I'm Paul, and this is Jan.
Hey.
And today we are going to be reviewing two brands that are, I would say, pretty hot. They have just released on market, and there's been quite a lot of discussion that we've seen. And yeah, we think they're pretty viable brands for us to jump in and unfocused.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of them are not like a complete rebranding, but both, I mean, they changed like a very important part of their visual identity. So today we are looking at, first of all,
Twitter.
At Twitter.
And then we're going to also be looking at McDonald's, which has been highly requested, actually, and it's all over the internet at the moment. So, yeah, as in our kind of natural tradition, let's jump straight in.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter popped up. I think it was not too big in the media, so that people are talking about it.
Yeah, it was kind of like a silent launch, somewhat, right? It just kind of popped up and then kind of disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a heavy Twitter user, to be honest. So maybe the people who are using actually Twitter, because at least on the landing page you can see a big difference. So maybe they saw it and thought, oh, what the hell? Because we are looking at this screen right now, and we can see the logo is pretty much the same. So they didn't change the logo. It's yeah.
And this was actually, this was actually designed in-house. So there's an in-house team who actually worked on the design with the help of a French studio called, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Iradia. I would say.
I cannot correct you because I have no idea either how you pronounce that. Maybe if somebody's watching from France, we're happy to find out how you say that.
Yeah, correct us if we're wrong, please. And we do apologize to Iradia. But yeah, it was it was in-house and Iradia who actually crafted this design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we can see, the logo is the same, as I said, but there is like a new layer, a new visual layer, a graphical layer. And it's pretty crazy, I would say, huh?
I mean, actually, that's the point. And I read a couple of things from the actual from the agency and from the in-house design team, and they were saying that's actually what they wanted. They wanted, because of Twitter being this kind of crazy space and it's unexpected. You don't know what's going to happen. They wanted to reflect that in the design, and they wanted this international kind of imperfection. Was one of the quotes I saw.
The imperfection, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I can see that definitely.
And also a brand new font as well.
Oh yeah, the font. Yeah, that's
Chirp.
Actually a big.
I think we're going to be jumping into that as well.
Chirp, yeah. I mean, what are we looking at is we have some animated typography with matrix kind of flying through the space. We have this like how do you call it when you
this like torn paper
effect like all over the place. Obviously the Twitter blue. Yeah, I mean, for me it looks pretty grungy punk kind of style.
Also, if you're actually new to the channel, one of the things that we actually do is we don't talk about these brands, right? So this is the first time that we actually have this discussion, and we both formulate our opinions on them. So I'm super excited again to hear what Jan has to say, because I definitely have my own personal opinion on this design.
Okay, I mean, let's click through some charts.
Yeah, then, for sure.
Okay, so we have this nice animation here. I think they posted themselves, so Twitter themselves on their platform, some images and some examples how like the visual elements play together. So we see this rasterized photography again, a lot of typography flying around. torn paper, bright colors. Yeah. So I have to say, because we have a certain age and we are in the industry for a while, I have seen that.
You've seen it before, right?
I've seen that before.
Yeah. Neville Brody style.
Yes, that's actually the name which quickly came into my mind. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, for me, right? So yeah, I have seen it before, of course. I remember having lots of torn paper scans on my computer at one time, which I overlaid in Photoshop or tore myself just to give it a little bit more of an individual look. But I definitely don't have those anymore. So I was quite surprised to see Twitter actually going down this route. And the main problem that I have with this is it looks a lot like an analog interpretation of what Twitter is supposed to be. But I don't believe that Twitter or the service of Twitter has anything really to do with old traditional style of communication, such as newspapers, right? So you get this newspaper-esque style coming through. And for me, a newspaper, and why they're struggling, and newspapers are moving over to digital, is because they are static and they're stuck in one place. Yeah. So a newspaper cannot engage with its audience. It cannot open up to any kind of conversation, right? So it's very passive. That's a newspaper. I think that's one of the problems with traditional media. I love traditional media, of course, but to take from a space that is kind of stuck or can only go so far when it comes to communication, I think to take reference from that and to look at that and repurpose it in a modern way is a little bit strange for me.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, my first gut feeling was, is that really Twitter? What I'm looking at right now?
Yeah.
But I mean, I also find it somehow very bold, to do it like this, especially because, I mean, they came from there was really more like, it was nothing, before, like design-wise and visually, yeah. And now they come out with this very bold and loud graphical element, which, I mean, if you look at other digital services out there, not a lot of them are doing it. They all are like keeping it simple and focusing on, user the experience of the whole product. This is always more important than having like an expression like this. And I think it feels for me very personal, to be honest. So I actually asked myself how this actually came together. Did Jack Dorsey went on Behance and looked for cool stuff he liked? Because
I think it probably was like an older creative director as well. Yeah, who's actually, if you're looking at nostalgia, because I'm sure there is an essence of nostalgia with the with the torn paper effect and this kind of rasterized feeling to the images and the kind of this almost like poppy kind of look to it. If you're going for like a retro feel, then I suppose an older person would pull directly with this as being maybe a highlight in the design sphere at one time. Yeah, to repurpose and reimagine it in some way.
Maybe that's a good thing, and maybe for the younger audience,
it's the first time they've seen it. Maybe.
The first time they've seen it, yeah. And it's maybe quite interesting to see something like that. So, again, I because it doesn't look like if was like a big pitch and then like 5 well-known agencies pitched against each other. It looks really like somebody in the company just liked this style and then reached out to this smaller, like independent, artsy kind of studio from Paris and said, "Yo, do something cool for us." And then this is what happened, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, we come into these conversations with having a certain perspective and not knowing. So maybe you're convincing me a little bit. Looking at what I've seen, yeah, I mean, you've seen everything before, right? Everything's recycled, everything's repurposed, and I don't necessarily see a problem with that. And I also love the idea of companies being bold and being brave and challenging things. But I just think the execution on this, the relationship and the connection with paper and old materials, and actually what Twitter does, I just find it a little bit jarring. I mean, the execution of it is, again, it's kind of your textbook approach to branding, right? So it looks nice, everything, it ticks the boxes, everything's done the way it should be done, but I'm not completely convinced.
Yeah, I understand.
Almost agreed.
Okay, let's have a look at the typography. So I think it's like a font just made for Twitter by GrillyType.
Yes, it was.
Also more like I mean, it's kind of known, but it's not one of the big foundries. It's more like a smaller, cooler, independent, creative type foundry. I really like them, and I think this type.
They've also added like handmade quirks.
Yeah.
With it says here, like an early woodcut specimen.
Mm-hmm.
The type is intended to be contemporary and a versatile addition to the brand system.
Yeah, it kind of fits because it's not super modern type.
Mm-hmm.
It has also some classical elements to it, and it's very diverse. You have like everything. You have very condensed version. You have a very extended version. So it's everything you need for nowadays communication. So
have they actually altered the blue of Twitter? I couldn't really say, right?
No, looks
blue is Twitter.
Yeah, looks the same to me. But yeah, kind of. I heard that they're thinking about because the font is actually right now just used for communication, but they think about integrating it into their product.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
I think that's something.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see if this is going to happen at some point. Yeah, and then again, all these little animations they put on their Twitter feed.
I think collectively this looks like a really nice board. I mean, visually it's nice. The design is nice. Again, I still have a problem. I think it's because if we have any English viewers, I used to watch a show called Have I Got News For You, which was like a satirical kind of panel show, which I loved growing up. And it reminds me of this and of Nevermind the Buzzcocks. So if any of you guys know that, let me know if you agree. It has this kind of very kind of punky aesthetic to it.
Yeah. And a lot of cats.
Yeah, cats.
Well,
again,
I think cats just work, right?
Yeah, I suppose so, unfortunately. Cat testimonials. All right.
I think, yeah, that's pretty much everything we are looking at today.
So generally what we will do is, we will score at the end of each of these kind of breakdowns, and we'll score out of 10. And again, we don't know what we're going to score, but I think you can probably guess that his is going to be a little bit higher than mine. But yeah, I mean, I think overall it's an honourable effort. I think the execution is great when it comes to textbook. Everything's there that needs to be there. I'm sure it was an awesome process to go on, and it looks like it's fun. It was a lot of fun to actually make. But as I said before, the biggest problem for me is the concept and the bridge between old school analog and applying that to a kind of a modern take on communication in today's world. I just don't see the two things working together. So saying that, I would give it a 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I could give it more because I do like it, but I just don't think that the concept quite works.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I really appreciate that they had the balls to do something unexpected like this. I appreciate that they work with like smaller independent studios. I really like that. And that's why I give it a 7.
Okay.
I think it might not last forever. Maybe just for a year. I don't see that that they use this for like the next 5 to 10 years, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's very of the now, but that's I don't think it's very of the now. But yeah, good. I think they're kind of average scores, but some definite positive vibes and some really cool things to take away from that. And if you're younger and you're watching this, definitely go out and check Neville Brody and some of the old kind of Rat Pack of design classics to see the recycled nature of what's happening in design at the moment. Definitely see this stuff coming back. David Carson, for example.
Yeah.
All these old school classics are suddenly kind of becoming very relevant again. Man, I feel old. All right. Okay. So the next one. McDonald's. So if you've watched a couple of the shows already, you'll see that we already covered Burger King, which released a whole new corporate branding a couple of weeks ago. And it was very, very well received. And the last, 2 days ago, McDonald's have followed suit with, I won't say a complete rebranding, but they definitely were not happy about having the limelight stolen away from them. And some package design has emerged on the internet.
Yeah, I actually have to say, because we covered like two of the or the biggest fast food companies out there, we are actually not the biggest fans of the way these companies produce food, and I just want to mention that. But it's interesting how they they develop their brand. That's why we cover these here.
I think it's more about, it's what these companies face and challenge on such a huge mass scale. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's interesting. I don't agree with the product. We don't eat from either of these companies, and we don't positively promote what they do. But from a brand and a design aesthetic, the challenges that they face, I think, are very, very interesting to see how these big corporates try and create some kind of authenticity or design that we would feel like we would want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump in.
Yeah, let's jump in. McDonald's. So as you said, they just released a new packaging. I'm actually not sure if they were super happy about the fact that Burger King just released their very well received rebrands a few weeks before. And yeah,
I think we should also mention who this agency was. This agency was an agency called Pearlfish. They look like they're a pretty big company as well. They have offices in London, New York, San Francisco, and Copenhagen, and they claim to be a group of futurists, strategists, designers, and realists.
Oh.
So
are they? I actually haven't looked at them. Are they specialized in packaging or?
I think from what I saw, there was a lot of packaging, but I think they do kind of they're diverse a little bit as well.
So branding, packaging, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is where McDonald's came from. This is the old packaging, very type heavy. But I kind of understand why they thought, okay, let's do something new, because it's some kind of boring after
Well,
a couple of years.
You could also, I would be really interesting to see if it was the other way around. Like if we were seeing this for the first time, would this now be, like Swiss design, really nice that they're playing with typography, timeless, classic kind of look?
I mean, that's a good question. Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on your perspective, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we found this unpacking video. Accelerating the arches.
The golden arches. So yeah,
you first.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting there is McDonald's services 60 million different touch points every day, so the design needs to be universal, and this is actually the approach that they went with. That they wanted to celebrate the kind of or take the parts of the product like the fry or the burger or the eye of an egg, and actually celebrate that, make that the hero. Behind what they were trying to do is make people smile. That's kind of the driving force behind this campaign, is to make people smile. And yeah, I jump into an opinion here. I think it falls short, to be honest, right? Because if we look at Burger King, right, and I know you're probably waiting for us to compare these two, but Burger King right now is a benchmark, right? Because the way that it put the story together, it celebrated people. Okay, so it put the faces at the forefront. It had a great typeface, which was bouncy and fun and had character, and it was charismatic. And you could see that playing out through the whole experience, through the whole story. And granted, this is package design, but still, I think if you're going to make such a bold statement with what you're doing, then it needs to have a much bigger holistic vision.
Yeah, it feels a bit separated because they just, came out, here's a new packaging. And then, I mean, it's much smarter to release everything at one point, and tell the whole story and not just, it feels a bit detached, to be honest.
And this idea of make people smile, that's very objective.
Yeah.
Right? If that was, maybe that was just a nice way of kind of sugarcoating something that was very simple. Very simple to do. I mean, I love geometry in design. I love Bauhaus. I love these very clean, simple forms. So if I was approaching something, then I'd probably be playing, with the same kind of palette and the same kind of look. But a reason for something and a bigger picture and a bigger story always wins. And this, for me, just falls really flat.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. I mean, let's take it apart.
Yep.
So they introduced some new illustration. So we see very simplified forms and shapes. Yeah, very bright colors, so nothing really unexpected here. And then they combine it with, I think, a typography they actually introduced in 2016 when they did a little refined rebranding kind of thing. So the Speedy Bold. And this is how it looks right now. And I have to be honest, when I first saw the new packaging, I didn't consider to talk about this on our video because I was just okay, whatever, next. So I'm not really wowed by that, to be honest. I mean, look at the cheeseburger. This doesn't. I don't know, what is that?
I have no idea.
It should be melted cheese, of course, but
oh, really? Okay, all right. Now I see it somehow. Mm.
I mean, they have this topic of when you click a bit to the next chart, the idea of showing the like the product.
There's notoriously no fish in a fillet of fish. Right, so don't even try and convince me of this.
I mean, you look at the Big Mac and the Quarter Pounder, so the idea is like showing what's inside. With the fish, it looked like it was not so easy to show a fish in a simplified version.
Well, they're also supposed to have each thing is supposed to be so clean and clear that it has this symbolic kind of anchorage, right? Wherever you are, from what I saw, it kind of transcends language. It transcends boundaries because everybody knows what a fish is. Everybody knows what a fry is. I just, you can't, trying to pull the wool over my eyes. It just doesn't do it for me. It's just a lot of a mumbo jumbo that's put on top of something.
Yeah. So we have here some animations for a soft drink can. And I think even the way they present it looks, I mean, they really just took the packages and took a photo.
You know, I really think, I know. But really, what I think here, and this is why I mentioned Burger King in the first place, I just really think this is a reaction to Burger King. I don't think this is I think that's a strategic move because Burger King did such a good job and they stole a little bit of thunder because I'm sure McDonald's do not like that. But this cannot be really serious. I mean, this is then, right? Yeah, I mean, this is not a year in the planning. Any designers out there who know how to use Illustrator, I'm sure you could create something like this pretty quickly and come up with some crazy strategy idea and put that story on top of it, and boom, you're done. I mean, McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's, but they do excel in creativity. They have been a space for agencies and for illustrators and designers to actually, have a platform to showcase some cool stuff, especially in the advertising as well. But this just, for me, no.
Yeah, and then as an answer to Burger King, I mean, they just should have taken more time. Even, look at this billboard, yeah? I mean, they wouldn't put their packaging on a billboard anyway, so...
Yeah.
What's the point of putting... I mean, if there is like a campaign around that, then they can show a campaign, but this is just the graphics from the packaging, a little bit animated, put it on a billboard. I mean...
Man, we're riled, right? Yeah. We are riled. Yeah, this definitely caused some kind of reaction.
And if we are talking about packaging, there's also this topic of this packaging is responsible for a lot of waste. Yeah. If
that's true,
if they really focus on developing a new packaging, then I don't want to see some new nice illustration. I want like a concept on how to spend less or
save the fish. Let's save the fish. Let's not eat the fish. Yeah, for sure.
I want to know if these materials are sustainable, recycled or whatever, and what are they doing to create less waste?
Yeah, 100% agree. And you can see the idea of green or recycled. Everybody's doing it, but it's very, very important. Of course, that's why everybody's doing it, and it should be at the forefront of any of these companies should definitely have the responsibility, and that should be key and driven and grounded right in the core roots of what they do. I mean, McDonald's is one of the biggest companies in the world, right?
And you just said how many people touch these products, you know?
Yeah. All right. I think I think we should score this. All right, because we can go even deeper, but I think it's a little bit too close to the cloth, to the heart at the moment. I suppose we just got a little comparison here between Burger King. Burger King definitely not champion the recycling side of things. I didn't see that in any of the brand communication.
Burger King.
Yeah.
But they at least have also just the paper wrapper around their burgers and not this cardboard box like the Big Mac and the Quarter Pounder. But this might be just as visual.
And moving more towards, I know that's through popular demand. Something that I'm very passionate about is that they're doing alternatives. So vegan, vegetarian, more alternatives with that mindset for, just consumer demand, of course, but also just experiment. I think that's a really, really good message from Burger King, and in comparison to McDonald's. Yeah. So let's jump into a little score, shall we?
Okay. Should I start this time?
Yes, please.
2. That's I think it's boring. It's not very well designed. And it's just disconnected from the brand somehow. I don't care if they could have just kept their old packaging.
Yeah, I have to give it a 2 as well, and I think the only points that they're getting is because the colors were kind of nice. But that's really, I'm really, pulling at the drawstrings here. Like, for me, it's definitely a thumbs down. Yeah. So I think that just about concludes today's Unfocused. We've covered Twitter. It's got a little bit higher on to the right of me with Jan. I liked some of the stuff. Had problems with the concept, and McDonald's. Yeah. Take it, leave it. It's not for us. So, with that, we would like to say thank you for joining another episode of Unfocused, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Have a good one. Bye.
Have a good one. Is that your catchphrase? Love it.
You don't say that? Can you say that?
Yeah.